Brothers and sisters of this land, guardians of our destiny, children of a continent that has endured centuries of struggle yet refuses to bow, I stand before you today with the fire of truth in my heart and the weight of responsibility on my shoulders. We are gathered not merely to speak of trade or economics, but to declare a new path, a bold pivot that carries within it the hopes of millions of our people and the defiance of a nation that refuses to be shackled. For too long, we have been told that the destiny of Africa must be decided elsewhere. We have been told that our wealth belongs to others, that our gold, our cotton, our manganese, our fertile soil, and even the sweat of our youth must flow outward to sustain foreign empires, while our people are left with crumbs. We have been told that to question this injustice is dangerous, that to stand tall is reckless, that to dream of sovereignty is to invite punishment. Yet here we are alive, proud, unbroken, and ready to rewrite the story. Today I tell you that we have embarked upon a pivot worth more than numbers, though the numbers themselves are mighty, a trade reorientation valued at $2.1 billion. But let no one misunderstand, this is not about money alone. This is about dignity, it is about control over our own destiny, it is about standing tall among nations as equals and not as beggars. This pivot represents a fracture in the chains of dependency, a refusal to remain subordinate to powers that see us not as partners, but as pawns in their global game. We have been warned, we have been threatened, we have been told by powerful voices in distant capitals that our defiance will isolate us, that our refusal to kneel will bring hunger, chaos, and ruin. But I ask you, have we not already tasted hunger? Have we not already endured chaos imposed by others? Have we not been made to live in ruin while billions of our wealth are siphoned away? If survival under their system means misery, then let us risk defiance to build a system that gives us life, pride, and freedom. Our pivot challenges the United States not because we hate their people, but because we reject the arrogance of their leaders who believe that Africa must forever remain their backyard, their resource depot, their geopolitical pawn. We have seen how they operate. With one hand they extend aid, and with the other they extract riches beyond measure. They claim to defend democracy, yet they defend only their interests. They speak of human rights, yet their bombs, their bases, and their sanctions have destroyed entire nations. And to those who would say that a small country cannot stand against a giant, I say this: a people united, determined, and conscious of their worth is greater than any giant built on lies. This pivot is not only an economic maneuver, it is a declaration of independence, a signal to the world that Africa is no longer a chessboard but a player at the table. For centuries, we have exported raw materials at the lowest price and imported finished goods at the highest cost. This deliberate system of exploitation has kept us weak and dependent. But now we say no more. Our resources will be harnessed for our own development, our own factories, our own industries, our own youth. Yes, $2.1 billion marks the beginning of a new trade policy, but behind this figure lies a deeper truth. It means that we will no longer rely solely on the corridors dictated by Washington, Paris, or Brussels. We will seek partners in Asia, in Latin America, in the Middle East, and above all, across Africa itself. We will weave a fabric of solidarity that no empire can tear apart. For the future of Africa is not in begging for crumbs at the table of others, but in building a banquet of our own, where every African nation has a seat. There are those who whisper that this path is too dangerous. They say the United States will punish us with sanctions, that markets will close, that investors will flee. But I ask, what investors do we truly need? Those who come to exploit and depart, or those who come to share technology, to respect our sovereignty, to build with us, not upon us? If sanctions come, let them come. Our ancestors endured chains of iron. Can we not endure chains of paper and commerce as we break them? Let them close their doors. We will open others. Let them attempt to isolate us. We will embrace those who see us as brothers, not as prey. And to those who doubt, I say, look to the spirit of our people. Look at the farmer who cultivates the land even under threat. Look at the soldier who defends his nation against forces armed and funded by outsiders. Look at the student who studies by candlelight because the system has denied him power, yet refuses to give up. Look at the mothers who carry the weight of families in the harshest conditions yet stand strong. This is the wealth of Africa, not only our gold, not only our land, but our indomitable spirit. With this spirit, we can survive any storm and build any future. Brothers and sisters, let me be clear. Our pivot is not against America alone. It is against any system, any nation, any corporation that seeks to chain us. It is against the arrogance of those who believe sovereignty belongs only to some, while the rest of us must forever obey. It is against the hypocrisy of those who exploit our suffering while pretending to save us. It is against the cowardice of leaders who sell their people for personal comfort. But our pivot is also for something. It is for a future where the wealth of Africa remains in Africa. It is for a system where our youth do not flee across deserts and seas in search of a future, but find it here on their own soil. It is for a continent where farmers are valued more than foreign consultants, where soldiers defend their own people rather than foreign bases, where leaders serve their nations rather than their foreign masters. It is for a day when we can say with pride, we are free, we are strong, we are united. This path is not easy. I will not lie to you. We will face hardship. We will face resistance. We will face betrayal even from within. There will be those among us who are tempted by promises of money, power, or comfort offered by the very forces we resist. There will be those who whisper that submission is safer, that dependence is easier. But I tell you, slavery may be easier than freedom, but it is not life. To be free is to struggle, to free is to sacrifice, to be free is to choose dignity even when the path is steep. And we are ready to pay that price. Already, we see the tremors of our decision across Africa. Other nations watch us with caution, some with fear, some with hope. The enemies of our sovereignty hope that we will fail quickly, so they can point to our ruins and say, "You see, Africa cannot govern itself." But we will not fail because our cause is just, our people are awake and our spirit is unbreakable. And if we stumble, we will rise again, for this is not a project of one day, 1 year, or one leader. This is the project of generations. Our pivot is part of a larger realignment sweeping across the continent. We see brothers and sisters in neighboring lands who share our defiance, who too reject the dictates of foreign powers. Together we are weaving a new alliance that frightens the empires. They see us breaking their chains and they panic. They send threats, they deploy propaganda, they attempt coups and sabotage, but they cannot stop a tide whose time has come. The tide of African unity is rising, and no empire can resist it. Let me remind you that $2.1 billion is not the ceiling, it is the foundation. With this pivot, we will invest in our people. We will build schools that teach not only foreign theories but African knowledge. We will construct hospitals that serve our people without waiting for foreign charities. We will establish industries that transform our resources here, creating jobs, technology, and pride. We will strengthen our defense not to conquer others, but to ensure that no one conquers us again. To the youth, I say, this is your struggle, this is your inheritance, this is your moment. You are the engine of this pivot, the builders of this new Africa. Do not be seduced by the false dreams sold by those who want you to abandon your homeland. Do not believe the lie that freedom must be imported. Freedom is forged here in your hands, in your sweat and your courage. Rise, organize, learn, build, and defend your nation, for it belongs to you and to those yet unborn. To the elders, I say, guide us with your wisdom, for you have seen the cycles of oppression and resistance. Stand with us as we continue the struggle you began. Your sacrifices laid the foundation upon which we now build. Your stories remind us that we are not alone, that we walk a path carved by ancestors who refused to bow. To the women of this land, I say, you are the heart of this nation, the foundation of our resilience. Without you, there is no future. Your strength sustains us, your sacrifices inspire us, your courage gives us direction. You are not the silent victims of this system. You are its greatest challengers and the architects of tomorrow. To the soldiers who defend this land, I say your duty is not to foreign flags, but to the soil from which you came, to the mothers who gave you life, to the people who look to you for protection. Never betray them. Stand firm. Stand proud and know that you are the shield of a people who will never forget your sacrifice. To the world I say, we are not seeking conflict. We are not seeking enemies. We are seeking partners who respect us as equals. We are open to trade, to cooperation, to friendship, but only on the basis of respect, sovereignty, and mutual benefit. If you come to exploit, stay away. If you come to dominate, beware. But if you come to walk with us as brothers and sisters, then together we will build a better future not only for Africa but for all humanity. And to those who continue to believe they can threaten us into submission, I say this, your time is past, the old world is dying, and a new one is being born. You may delay it, you may attack it, but you cannot stop it. Africa is awakening, and once awake, we cannot be put back to sleep. This $2 billion pivot is only the first chapter of a larger story, a story of a people rising from centuries of humiliation to reclaim their rightful place, a story of a continent that refuses to be divided, weakened, and plundered any longer, a story of resistance, resilience, and rebirth. We are writing this story with our sweat, with our struggle, with our dreams, and we will not stop until it is complete. So let the world watch. Let the empires tremble. Let the skeptics sneer. We know who we are, we know where we are going, and we know that nothing on this earth can stop a people determined to be free. Our children will ask us one day what we did when Africa stood at the crossroads. They will ask whether we bowed our heads and accepted chains, or whether we stood tall and forged a new path. And we will tell them we chose freedom, we chose dignity, we chose to fight for a future worthy of their dreams. And for that choice, we will endure anything, we will sacrifice everything, and we will win. The pivot of $2.1 billion is not a simple transaction, not a mere adjustment of figures on paper, not just a shift in balance sheets or the flow of goods. It is a weapon of sovereignty, forged not with iron or fire, but with the will of a people who refuse to remain in chains. For decades, our trade has been dictated, controlled, and distorted by outside forces. We have been reduced to exporters of raw wealth, while the finished goods that define modern power are imported at inflated prices. This is not an accident, this is design. It is the architecture of dependency, a system carefully crafted to ensure that Africa remains weak, remains dependent, remains submissive. And now, with this pivot, we strike at the very heart of that design. Every figure attached to this pivot represents more than money. It represents defiance. $2.1 billion represents not only contracts and cargo ships, but the refusal to bow. It represents the farmer who says his harvest will no longer be sold for nothing. It represents the miner who says his labor will no longer build palaces abroad while his children starve. It represents the student who demands that knowledge must lead to industries here, not perpetual dependence on imports. In this way, trade is not neutral. Trade is political. Trade is the battlefield where nations decide whether they will be masters of their own fate or permanent clients in the empire of another. When we redirect our trade, when we choose to stand with new partners, we are doing more than shifting markets, we are building a shield. This shield is made of economic independence. It is the recognition that no nation can call itself sovereign if its bread comes from outside, if its energy depends on foreign supply chains, if its survival is contingent on the goodwill of another. With this pivot, we are declaring that sovereignty is not only defended by soldiers at borders, but by traders, by farmers, by builders, by every citizen who insists that his country must live by its own labor. For too long, we were told that small nations cannot survive without the protection of great powers. They said we are too poor, too unstable, too disorganized to stand alone. Yet who made us poor if not the extraction of our wealth? Who made us unstable if not the endless meddling in our politics? Who kept us disorganized if not the imposed systems that destroyed our indigenous economies and replaced them with dependency? The same powers that inflict the wounds now sell us the cure, and they call it generosity. But we know better. We know that what they fear most is not our weakness, but our awakening. And with this pivot, we are awakening. $2.1 billion is not charity. It is not aid. It is not a gift handed down from the so-called benevolent partners of the West. It is the fruit of negotiation, the product of courage, the result of refusing to accept crumbs. It is a step toward reclaiming what has always been ours, the right to decide who we trade with, under what terms, and for whose benefit. It is a reminder that every contract we sign must strengthen our people, not weaken them. It is an assertion that the wealth of Africa is not a prize to be distributed among empires, but the foundation of our own future. And yes, this pivot is a weapon, because the moment a nation refuses to follow the script written for it, the architects of that script panic. They send warnings, they issue threats, they promise economic ruin, they predict shortages, inflation, collapse. They want us to fear change, to retreat back into the safety of dependency. But the truth is, their fear is not about us failing, their fear is about us succeeding. Because if one nation can stand, then others will follow. If one people can rise, then others will awaken, and the empire built on African submission will begin to crumble. The weapon of sovereignty is not fired with bullets. It is wielded by every decision that breaks dependence. When we say we will no longer sell our gold in a system that robs us of its value, we fire that weapon. When we insist that our cotton must be processed in our own factories, we fire that weapon. When we choose to trade with partners who treat us as equals, we fire that weapon. Each of these actions may not echo like cannons, but their impact is deeper because they dismantle the very foundation of the system that has oppressed us. Our enemies know this. That is why they will attempt to sabotage our efforts. They will use their media to spread lies about us, painting us as reckless, unstable, or dangerous. They will use their diplomats to pressure others into abandoning us. They will use their corporations to manipulate markets against us. They will use every weapon they can muster, because they know that if sovereignty spreads, their grip on Africa will be lost. And so we must be prepared, not only militarily but economically and psychologically, to withstand their resistance. We must understand that this pivot will demand sacrifices. It will not be smooth. There will be shortages, there will be delays, there will be hardships. But what is hardship compared to slavery? What is temporary struggle compared to generations of servitude? We must be willing to endure discomfort today so that our children can inherit dignity tomorrow, and our people understand this truth. They have lived under hardship imposed by others for centuries. Now they are ready to endure hardship chosen for their own liberation. $2.1 billion is a beginning, not an end. It is a first step in a march that will not stop until every sector of our economy is freed from dependency. We must diversify our trade, expand our industries, cultivate self-reliance. We must ensure that the farmer has access to markets at fair prices, that the craftsman can produce without relying on imported tools, that the student can innovate without fleeing to foreign lands. Every citizen must see himself as part of this weapon of sovereignty, because sovereignty is not the possession of leaders, it is the lifeblood of a people. We must also look beyond our borders. Sovereignty cannot exist in isolation. If one nation stands alone, it can be crushed. But if nations stand together, they become unbreakable. That is why this pivot is not only for one country, but for Africa as a whole. It is a call to our neighbors, to our brothers and sisters across the continent. Let us trade with one another. Let us build industries together. Let us defend each other's sovereignty as if it were our own. Because the chains that bind us are not national, they are continental, and the freedom we seek cannot be partial, it must be African in its entirety. Let us be clear, when we speak of a pivot worth billions, we are not speaking in the language of accountants. We are speaking in the language of liberation. We are saying that our markets will no longer be dictated by foreign capitals. We are saying that our resources will no longer fuel the power of others while we remain weak. We are saying that we are prepared to rewrite the rules of engagement in global trade, and in doing so, we arm ourselves with the most powerful weapon of all, the determination to live free. This is why the 2.1 billion trade pivot is not simply a deal. It is a revolution dressed as commerce. It is a battlefield where contracts replace chains, where markets replace dictates, where sovereignty replaces subjugation. It is the assertion that Africa will no longer be the supplier of raw wealth and the consumer of finished dependency. It is the birth of a new order, one that places our dignity above their profits, our sovereignty above their control, our people above their interests.